Hey, it's Good Time Gal. How have you been? I hope you have been blessed and not stressed. Today is National Cherry Pie Day, and we are going to be whipping up a cherry pie for the ages. It's a really simple recipe. It's one that was passed down from my mother to me. The perfection is all in the pie crust and how wonderful and flaky you can get it. So today I hope that we have a wonderful bake, a super chill bake, and we just have a really good time, okay? So these ingredients are gonna be super easy. You only need, I believe, 4 ingredients. Today I'm gonna be using flour. So this is what we're making our pie crust with. Yes, we're making our pie crust from scratch. Of course, it's National Cherry Pie Day, so I don't care how you make your cherry pie. If you choose to have a ready-made crust, or if you want to be like me, Miss Susie Homemaker over here, you can go ahead and use flour and make your own pie crust from scratch. So I've got 4 cups of flour. I have a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I have my can of cherries. Now, again, if you wanted to go the old-fashioned way, you could do 2 cups of cherries that are already pitted with 2 cups of sugar and 1/2 a stick of butter, and you could slowly caramelize those, break those down for about 20 to 35 minutes, let them cool, set them aside while you work on your pie crust. All up to you. Again, cooking is about the vibe and how you feel when you do it. So if you feel so inclined to start from the ground up and make it from scratch, that's totally up to you. It's a very therapeutic thing, but also getting it out of the can, having that efficiency, it's always a wonderful treat, right? So this is probably not going to be a long bake. This is going to be one of those easy peasy lemon squeezy bakes. So we'll get to it. This is also a stick of frozen butter. This is our most important weapon. This is going to keep our pie crust staying flaky. And then of course our last ingredient, a tablespoon of water. Now let's begin. So when I do this, I'm only going to be using 1/2 of this, so I'm only going to be using about 2 cups of the flour. And the reason I'm only using 2 cups of the flour is because the rest is going to be when I sit it on this counter and I need it to, I'm just do a little more, when I start turning it into the pie crust. And I'm gonna gradually add the water as well. And I know you're probably thinking, why not grate it? Number 1, it's really hard because again, this is frozen butter. But number 2, this is pie crust. So I want to get that flaky, even crust, and that's why we use the frozen butter and we kind of cube it up. If I grated it, it would make it a fluffy pie crust, like how it does with the cookies, it makes it fluffy. So that's why I'm not grating it, I'm just cutting it. And this is gonna be the hardest part because it's really frozen. So I'm gonna move my bowl out of the way. I'm gonna cut it down the center. Put this aside for later. This is the time for me to add my salt. And now I'm gonna start whisking. with a little more power behind it. Just so it breaks it down, because this butter is really frozen. So let's... adding the water. A little more. I'm gradually adding the water to the dough so that I don't make it too doughy. And I don't also want to compromise the butter because the butter is still frozen. And the reason it's better to use your hands is so that you can get the moisture to reach every bit of the dough. Like so. The spatula's been dipped in flour, so that's why it's coming off so easy. So now that I am at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and flour my surface with some of the remaining flour. I'm leaving this so that I can dust the top of this. This should be enough for me to use it as the bottom part, and then I want to use this as a lattice. So I'm going to roll it a little bit in the flour, because again, this is it's still a sticky substance. It still has the water that we've used. So I'm gonna continue to evenly distribute my pie, okay? I will cut it in half so that I don't overwork myself. And I can tell that this dough, it's a nice dough. Do you see the texture? It's a good texture. So I'm gonna set this aside. And this is my bottom, so I'm gonna work on the bottom part. In fact, I'll put him like that. I'm going to cover this with flour. I already have my pre-lined pan. And we're just tugging the edges ever so gently, ever so gently. Look at us. So I have a little excess, so I'm going to use my knife. This is the knife that I have chosen, not necessarily the knife that I thought I would be using. But I'm going to put that excess with the other dough, and I'm going to gently cut. While making sure that my walls are still intact. When I was first starting to cook, desserts was kind of the thing you had to master in my family. And they would give you things like, well, you've got to make a cobbler from scratch, right? So you would have to learn how to do that. So this is a skill I've learned at a very young age. But it comes in handy. So now, I like how it looks, but there's just a little gap. See that? So I'm just gonna start filling it in. Look at that. Very nicely done. So now that we've done that, this is our next step. You see how easy this is? We're just flowing through it. So now, It's nice. Look at us. Look. Oh, you're doing it. All right, so now I'm gonna set this in the freezer a little bit. Because now I've got to work on my lattice. So I'm gonna set this in the, well, no, not the freezer. I'll put it in the fridge for like until I'm done, just so it keeps chilled. Because the butter, again, it's the crust, it's consistency. So that's what we want. So now we're back. So now this is my excess flour that I'm going to use for this, the top. Remember I said I wanted to make it for the top, for the lattice. So a lattice is a technique. It looks like a lattice fence that you do on your pies or cobblers. So I'll make sure I have enough flour, because when I roll it out, I want it to actually touch the flour, right? It's nice. It's real nice. All right. So the lattice, simple, very simple, but I'll be right back. Pizza cutter. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do a pizza cutter. I want to make sure you get a front row seat to the lattice party. Having a lattice party. And this is the lettuce. Yep, it looks like a little fence. So let's finish it by dusting it with egg white. So for this, I'm gonna do 2 egg whites. We have made this in under 30 minutes, so this is a really good dessert if you are short on time, and if you want to substitute the cherries for blueberries, apple, pineapple, you can. Just take in context what type of pineapple you get. Pineapple can take a little longer to cook if you get them thicker. If you get crushed pineapple, they cook faster. Booga! Booga! Carmen! Do you want this? Egg yolk. All right. Maybe add a little water because it's pretty thick, but I don't want it to compromise it, so just enough to, yeah. All right. If I go too much, we get meringue, and no one wants meringue. So I'm dipping my brush lightly, and I'm just finding the places that are dough. I'm gonna go gently because the lattice. And this is not my favorite brush. The blue brush is my favorite. This is my second favorite. I mean, it gets the job done, but the blue brush's bristles are a little nicer than this, so I can kind of work a little easier. What I'm doing right now. I think that's another thing with cooking, right? You work with the tools you got and it makes you a better cook. Yes, I could, you know, be like, oh my God, I can't finish this because I don't have my favorite. Don't worry about it. Just keep cooking. Because things are never going to be perfect, right? That was something someone told me. Things are never going to be perfect. Just do it, right? That's life. When I grill, the weather's never going to be perfect. I want a perfect grilling weather. It's always going to rain. Right now it's freezing cold. Just got to do it anyway, right? Never will turn into, you know, someday. Turns into never. Turns into coulda, woulda, shoulda. Turns into you're that person telling those crazy stories at the bar no one wants to hear because you missed out, right? That's why we just go for it, whatever that is. Just go for it. enjoy it, go for it, you know. That's been like the motto of my life right now. Just go for it. You know, connect the four, babes. You know, it's the only time we really go for it is when we play Connect Four, right? Because they say, go for it, red, go for it, right? But I think everything we do in our life, like, we should go for it. If there's a person you like and, you know, you really think they could have a future with you, go for it. If there's a job you really feel that you could, you know, maximize in your potential and, you know, your earning power, go for it. If there's a conversation that you think you need to have with some of your friends and you want to make sure that you're in a safe place and they can hear you, go for it. I think that's, you know, everybody's wish right now is just to live your best life and go for it, right? All right, so now we're gonna put this in the oven, and with the beauty of movie magic, it will be back cooked and ready. All right, 35 minutes have passed, and with the beauty of movie magic, our pie is done. This pie turned out very lovely. I was worried when we first started because I only used a can of cherries, but I think it worked perfectly with the lettuce, which is what we wanted. I'm gonna give you guys an up close and personal view of the pie that we have made together so that you see it. So for this National Cherry Pie Day, I want you to host a party, invite your friends, and just enjoy the comfort of one another. Because that's really what these national holidays on Good Time Gal is about. It's about finding the time to celebrate with your friends, your family. It's about finding the time to just celebrate life in general, to just be happy and to be content. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for stopping by. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Please check out my channel description so that you can find even better cooking aids than the ones that we do on here. Thank you so much. Happy National Cherry Pie Day.